Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name's Colin, semicolon, Brez. You know the drill. Whatever you want to call me works for me. Today, I want to talk about getting started in gold making. I think that oftentimes, especially if you're new to gold making or never really dipped your toes into it, it can be kind of a daunting thing to get started for several reasons. Number one, how do you get started? What should I do to make money? Um, and I think that generally is actually the biggest question. Like, what should I do to get started in gold making? And ultimately, like the biggest piece of advice that I can give to get started in gold making is literally just start. And I know that might not sound like the best piece of advice, but I promise you it is. So I will elaborate a bit. There are a lot of different ways that you can make gold within World of Warcraft. So just looking at Dragonflight right now, there's 2x4 farming. So if you got into 2x4 farming, that requires virtually no investment on your end, and anything that you do receive from 2x4 farming is essentially pure profit. The barrier of entry into 2x4 farming is a lot lower. Therefore, the amount of gold that you make is going to be lower. Right. So, in general, easier methods of gold making are going to result in less gold overall. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I really want to stress that, there are some people that they all they like to do is like 2x4 farming, or maybe it's mining and herbalism. And those are very easy, laid back ways, methods of making gold. Um, there are going to be methods that are more lucrative, but those methods are by all means not bad. I enjoy doing just some farming myself sometimes, and I think it's a great way to kind of get started into markets. So you could do like 2x4 farming again. Another option would be like, let's say you have a bunch of alts. If you do have a bunch of alts, like level 70, then you could just cruise around the Dragon Isles and do the gold world quests and slash the Dragon Racing world quests on all of your alts twice a week. And that would result into a decent amount of gold, especially if you use the Magpie buff from the Dream Surge. So the Dream Surge, every once in a while, well, so to clarify, so with the Dream Surge, when it's going on, you can go over there and you can vote for one. There's two types of buffs. There's a lot more than two types of buffs, but I think it just like randomly chooses the two types of buffs that you could choose from, and then people have to vote for which type of buff they want. Um, and if it happens to be the Magpie buff, then that increases the gold that you receive from world quests. So you could try to kind of wait until you see that the Magpie buff is active in a zone, and then do gold world quests in that zone on all of your characters. So that would be an option. Another option is professions. So there are a lot of options within professions, Dragonflight, and also old professions. Um, Commodities. So let's say you wanted to get into Dragonflight Professions, then there's inking that you can do. There's crafted reagents, missives. Like, this is just with Inscription, but every single profession in Dragonflight has options for gold making that you could start doing fairly quickly. I think there's a misconception that, if you were to get into any sort of profession within Dragonflight at this time, it's going to take forever to kind of get to a point where it's profitable. And I think that a lot of times that kind of deters people away from starting up Dragonflight Professions, especially this far into the expansion. I promise you, it is not too late to get started with professions. You could get a character set up to start making money with Inscription in literally a day, a couple hours, and you're able to start making money with Inscription. Um, so if you wanted to look at professions as a gold making opportunity, my best recommendations would be Inscription, tailoring, jewel crafting, engineering, um, potentially alchemy. Those crafted profession wise, those are some great options to kind of get started. And I'm still learning all the different things you can do with making gold. Like I just started expanding into leatherworking and blacksmithing, um, and I'm kind of taking a look at those. But I do think that after maybe a week or two of just knowledge point farming, I should be able to make some profit in those. And then alchemy is another one that I recently just started trying for the first time, and I just put all of my points in for file of tepid versatility, and I was able to start making profit off of file of tepid versatility in a couple of hours after having a fresh alchemist. So there is definitely opportunity within Dragonflight Professions for gold making. And then if you're rocking Dragonflight Professions, you can kind of look backwards too. And you could look at old professions or old recipes, like looking at my guild bag here. Like I have a lot of jewel crafting crafted mounts. Engineering toys that I've crafted. So these are all things that you could look into. The engineering toys that I have are from Dragonflight, but the jewel crafting crafted mounts, engineering crafted mounts, these are all from old expansions that I've kind of just amassed. Excuse me. So that those would be some things that you could look into as well. And then I think another great option would be old content. So you could just look, you could download an add-on. Um, like I think Handy Notes is one that would tell you about rares in different zones and what they drop. So you could fly around old zones, look at the rares, see if any rares drop toys or pets that you could loot or have a chance of looting and sell those on the auction house. That would be an option. Another thing that I've done from old farming is farming up emerald and bronze whelplings, so you could try to get into a group farm and farm up some old whelplings. These are just like a passive income thing that I have. um, you could also look at transmog farming if you wanted to. Transmog farming is a kind of a daunting market. It is unbelievably lucrative. But the important thing to keep in mind with transmog farming is just because you looted an item worth 1 million gold, it could take months for that item to actually sell. Um, but you could again look into that, and then kind of going in line with the old content is would just be farming out recipes for professions to sell stuff on the auction house, like these mounts or maybe glyphs, whatever it may be. So those are some options to kind of get started, but it really doesn't talk like I it doesn't help with actually getting started. So let's just say for example that you're like, okay, yeah, maybe I want to get started in gold making, and maybe professions is the way that I want to go. And I think that professions for a lot of people is probably the best way to go for gold making, at least getting started. So if you wanted to go into professions to get started with gold making, my biggest recommendation starting out is just going to be start with like Inscription. So coming over to my Inscriptionist here, and shout out, I do have a video from the past that's a kind of an in-depth guide on Inscription and jewel crafting. You could certainly check out if you're wanting to kind of get more in-depth info on Inscription or jewel crafting. Um, but with Inscription, you could get a character uh, with enough knowledge points to max out rune mastery, understanding flora, and flawless inks within like an hour or two. Like all you, if you had a level 70 character that's fresh that you just learned Inscription on, all you'd have to do is go around and gather all the treasures, and you would have enough knowledge points to max out these three knowledge point trees or whatever. Um, again, excuse me. And just off of that alone, would you'd be able to start making money off of inking within Inscription. And what my recommendation would be is get started on something like again, it doesn't have to be inking within Inscription. It doesn't have to be professions. Whatever method that you're wanting to do your gold making on, get started. But don't go crazy. Like if you want to do world quests, start doing those world quests. Get the hang of it. Of optimizing. So maybe you need to, if you want to do world quests, maybe get some characters with a little bit better gear so you can kill stuff a little bit quicker and easier. Or if you're doing professions, start off with just a few recipes maybe that you're doing and start crafting those, getting a feel for how the crafting system works, especially if you're new into crafting within Dragonflight. The crafting process is wildly different than what crafting pre Dragonflight looked like. So get used to what the crafting system looks like. Um, start crafting a few recipes and just kind of working with those, selling those, and you'll naturally uh, start looking to expand. So and it's really fun. Like that's exactly what I was doing. If we look at kind of my gold making chart back in December of this 2023, I was at like 30,000 to 60,000 gold, and I just started crafting a couple of recipes and getting those recipes under my belt, and selling those. And eventually, I got to a point where I was crafting like so many of a particular item that maybe I had a stock of that item for a week, and I didn't necessarily need to craft more. And at that point, I started looking at like, okay, well, what are other things that I could craft to make some money off of? Um, and so that's what you could do is just again start with one recipe or maybe just a couple of recipes, craft those, get sales under your belt, get a feel for how it works. And I truly believe that you'll just naturally start thinking about like, okay, well, what else could I do? And once you've kind of begin that process, the way that you're looking at professions and everything is going to shift. You're going to start realizing that anything can be profitable if you investigate how. If somebody's selling something on the auction house, they're likely making a profit off of it. So the ultimate question you want to ask yourself is how are they making a profit off of this? And a lot of times it's like crafting the crafting materials you need to craft. Um, and so I think that if you just start off slow, your mind will start to get into that like kind of money making mindset, and you'll really start to expand and see what other things you can do. And I'm at a point now, like I have a lot of gold, right? And you could absolutely get to this point too. And one of the things that like, makes it a lot easier for me to like make gold is because I have put time into farming up some of these old recipes and whatnot. So now I have like these old engineering and jewel crafting mounts. I just craft a bunch of them, and then I just have them on hand, and I'm just selling over the course of a week or two until I sell out. I have a shit ton of ink, so like like one of my main gold making methods is ink crafting, but I have a shit ton of ink, so I don't need to do more ink crafting now. So now that I have all this ink, I can start crafting something else and building up a stockpile. And that's why you see that I have like a ton of tepid versatility flasks, draconic files, just because I keep on kind of like, I stock up, I do a big stock up on an item that's enough to, not sell through immediately. And that way I can just have like a bunch of different items consistently posted on the auction house. And that's how you can do it. But just start off slow. And it doesn't matter what profession you get started into. It I promise you it does not matter what profession you're starting off in. It doesn't matter if the recipe that you decided to start off on isn't as profitable as some other recipes, because the ultimate thing is by getting started, your mind is going to get into that crafting kind of mindset, and you're going to start looking at professions differently. Like I've already kind of mentioned, you're going to look at professions differently, recipes you're going to look at differently. You're going to start looking at like one thing that I did a lot of was I looked at a profession, and I would go through and look at all the unlearned recipes that I don't have so far, and like try to figure out like do I is it worth me getting these recipes, like which recipes are worth me getting. um and now I've got like every profession, and I've looked at all the recipes, and I'm working towards unlocking new ones when I can. It's a lot of fun, and eventually you're gonna get to a point where you have a shit ton of shit you're selling, and the auction house is just popping off, and it's a blast. So to get started, literally just start. It is not too late to get started with Dragonflight Professions. By all means, we still have, like, depending on when you're watching this, season 4 hasn't even come out. We have an entire season of content still left in Dragonflight. You can get a character set up to start making money in Dragonflight Professions in a day, like literally a couple hours. So just get started. Learn a couple recipes, even if you're not making much gold. Start with those, Ace, then start looking at expanding. And I promise you, if you do that, you'll start to make some money. There are plenty of content creators. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you've found me. I create content, and I like all of my content in streams and whatnot is centered around kind of everything that I've discussed so far in this video. So you can check out my streams or other videos to get additional ideas of different gold making things that you can do. But you can also leave a comment and I will try to do my best to respond. Or if you want to swing by one of my streams, ask any questions in my streams. And I'd be happy to try to motivate you or give you some advice on which direction to take for your own gold making. Um, but yeah, that's my spiel. I hope that this motivates you. I promise you, you can make money. It is not some galaxy brain stuff. That's what somebody mentioned yesterday to me. It was like, like you're like doing a galaxy brain gold making method. It's not. I promise you, it's the easiest shit. I just have been doing it long enough that I have a lot of different things at my disposal for gold making. You can get there too. Just start with one profession and work your way up, like climbing a set of stairs. Um, so again, yes, I hope this is motivating for you. I'm gonna have resources available eventually to even help further with gold making. I'm working on a sheet that will give some insights to prospecting, unraveling, cooking, and ideally down the road a lot of other different gold making options. Um, but hopefully this motivates you. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Maybe this video was complete dog shit. Let me know. I'll remake it if it was. I don't think it was, but yeah, I don't know. Clown me if you want. Anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I hope you're able to make some fat stacks of gold, just stacking up those gold coins like a little goblin. Um, Stay happy, stay safe. Swing by the stream, twitch.tv/semicolon23. I do stream on YouTube at the same time, so you could also just sub on YouTube. We're trying to hit 500 subs. Like and subscribe. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. We'll catch you next time. See ya.